Welcome to another edition of Cinema Corner. Today we are talking to the grand producer himself. This is one person that has nurtured many in the industry, including yours truly. He gave me an opportunity as a sound recordist kwa production yake, that's Classmates. And so, today it is a privilege to talk to Jere the man. Amekataa kuzeeka, sijui kama ni jeans ama ni production. But anyway, karibu sana. So, tell us, ulianzana na production lini, wapi? But before we get there, tell us who Jere the man is.
They are calling me grandfather, but not yet. I found gurus in the field. So I started producing content for companies many years ago, before I broke and moved to be the producer at Assignment Studios, a company that I founded. 1992, when I left college, I was employed in a small outfit that was producing, distributing videos. Generally, it was like a video library. I worked there for about 2 years. Then I moved to the company that I worked for many years, Film Corporation of Kenya. That company, I know some of you know the movie Rise and Fall of Idi Amin. That is a company that produced that movie, among many other movies, produced In the Shadows of Kilimanjaro. Of course, that time I was a young man. I was still in school. So when I joined, the film that was produced while I was still there was The Jungle Book, which was produced by the late Raju Patel, son to the producer of The Rise and Fall of Idi Amin. So that's where it all started. I took interest and picked and ran with it. I've worked with many crews since that time, but I would say the opportunities that time compared to today there were much more that time. The production, of course, was not done with the small cameras you guys are using these days. We're shooting with a 35mm film camera, to be precise, RABL4. And those are the days when film stock was key. You lose stock and you lose your job. So basically I started as a production assistant. My first production, I remember very well, 1994. Then I moved on and ended up being the production manager for many years, for about 12 years. Worked with Indian crews, American crews, I worked with Japanese crews, I worked with British crews. Those guys are highly professional. So I took interest. So later on, I moved from Film Corporation of Kenya and moved to Uganda, worked for about 2 years. We formed a company with some Ugandan fellas. But for 2 years and did some stuff down there, production of documentaries, commercials, and things like that. When I came back here, that was around 2007, when there was the chaotic elections. I sought refuge a bit down at Factor Films, where I was actually a consultant for some time. Then I moved out and now fully settled at Assignment Studios to think about production and do other stuff. So our first TV production was PASUA Show, which we started shooting with very young men, fresh guys from school, no, I would say, any experience in acting, no experience in camera work, but still, we managed to get a show to go to TV. Now that show was Kalasha. Kalasha Best TV Comedy 2012. From Kalasha, we got back to the office, energized and really full of zeal to do more productions. So we started a show called Classmates, which to date we are producing. As we speak now, the crew and cast are in the set producing that show. That show has won us 2 awards as well. Is Kalasha. It won Cheka Awards. We've been nominated, I think, 3 times. So, yeah, we are still there.
Let me take you back. Yes, so you have given us a very good narrative about yourself. So now you told us that you started this whole thing in college. That's which college?
Many years ago, I went to the Kenya Polytechnic. Now it's called TUK. That was Technical University of Kenya. I never sat in a class to learn production. I sat in the class to learn lighting, to learn electronic engineering. When I got out of college, I was employed down at Film Corporation of Kenya. Those guys were operating a mobile cinema fleet. And that is the department that I went first. But on the side, they were doing production, TV production, film production. So, mobile cinemas have gone to the field. You are sitting there to wait for them to come back. You've prepared the content that they're showing out there. So you sit doing nothing. So a crew comes. And you don't waste time. You go with them and see what they are doing. So I picked interest from there. However, back in my school days, I was in the drama club. I think I went to the district levels those days with a play which was really well written. I would also do the writing myself back in school. So, yeah, that's how interest was picked.
Okay. So mimi niko kwa hiyo generation ya wale walikuwa wanaambiwa wakae chini. In those mobile cinemas, the famous line was watoto kaeni chini. So mimi I was part of the watoto wa kukaa chini, and you were the one telling us kaeni chini.
I was the generation that was telling the operators, mkifika kwa field, mwambie watoto wakae chini ndio wa enjoy movie. Okay. So at that point, I was the guy producing that content, getting adverts, because I know many of you don't understand why a movie will come to your village and you don't pay. We used to have sponsors, people putting in money to make sure that their messages go. Those days there was Unilever, which was called East Africa Industries. They would come with Omo, they would come with their soap, Palmolive, Lux and such things. Then there were other corporates who were busy communicating to the people in the villages. Remember, TVs were very few. In my village, maybe there was only 1 TV in a full location. So, mobile cinema was the big thing at that time. So I got the opportunity. When mobile cinema was starting back in the 50s, they were using film. There was a projector that was optical, that was running a film, and that was projected on a screen. So as technology moved in, and I'm fresh from college, I've just come across technology called video projector. We were very few of us. In fact, our class was about, 14 people? So I meet a video projector, and these guys have invested. They want to move from film to video projection. I'm the guy. So I know this stuff. I know all this thing and how it operates. So that's how I got employed at Film Corporation.
All right. So you've given us a background of why these mobile films were important at that time. So what I'm wondering is, what was their exact model? And how did you decide, which would be the location of the screenings, and what exactly was inspiring the content that was being produced for the mobile cinemas?
Now, the structure of mobile cinemas was pretty simple. You draw a route that you follow every month. Now that route, because it was not just one mobile cinema unit, there were 14 in that company at that time. So you'd find a route that takes you to Kisumu, takes you to Bungoma, goes to Kakamega, like that to Webuye, comes down to Eldoret, crosses down to Molo, ends up maybe in Nakuru. Another route will pick from Nairobi, you go to Githurai, go to Thika, like that. Go to Nyeri, go to Nanyuki and come back. Then there's a route going to just Nairobi only. Doing the estates in Nairobi, there is Maringo, then this date we are in Jericho, the other date we in Uruma, like that. So that was replicated across the country. That was now the model that was working. Now it was important to have specific dates because then again, you know your crowds. Just like TV today, when you know a show, like for instance, Classmates comes on TV every Saturday at 7:30, you are tuned on, waiting for that program to come. So that day, mobile cinema is coming, you are sure itakuja. Ikikosa, then there's a problem. So people want the mobile cinemas. Inakujanga kwetu tarehe fulani. So that structure worked for many years, since the 50s, until now the invent of majorly the mobile devices. That's where now we started getting a slowdown in audiences and things like that.
And you've told us you are already producing content. So what was the kind of content that was appealing at that moment?
What drove the show was a feature film. But in between, we'd produce content, documentaries for corporates, we'd produce adverts for, FMCGs, and place it strategically in between the movie. So just like your typical TV, you are getting your advert segment. That segment will have various brands. Some of the brands grew from mobile cinemas. I don't want to name them, but I know some of them grew up and became the brands they are today because of that mobile cinema experience. So for mobile cinemas, what was the key thing was a feature film. But in there was content which was sponsored by various corporates and FMCGs. So basically, for that movie to come to your village, there was a process. There was a marketing team that will look for advertisements. There were companies that were working. At that time, there was a company called Palendin. If you ever gone to a movie theater those days, you'll see the logo Palendin. So that was a British company that was tasked to get advertisement into the movies. So, of course, there were many other teams that worked together. There was a mechanical part, there were technicians and all that put up together the mobile cinema and get it ready to go to the field. We used to have 27 days out there. The first day is a travel day. On the 2nd of each month, first show. So it is repeated up to the 26th. On the 27th, all these mobile vehicles come back, equipment is serviced, the vehicles are serviced, crew take their break, come back after 5-6 days, process repeated like that every month. So it was fun. Yes, it gave me the opportunity also to travel out there and know the country. Gave me the opportunity to understand cultures and how people lived. Because most of the time I would sit free, and once the vehicles are out and they're serviced, US is just to monitor them. Those days there were no mobile phones. So what they used to do is to call the office and request for a reverse call. I know you guys don't understand what a reverse call is. Gabriel is calling you from Maragua and he wants you to pay for his call. Oh. Do you accept? Then you say yes. Okay, then they connect the guy. Then you can report on what has happened and so on. So it was a very interesting way of life.
Okay, so that's the exhibition part.
That's right.
Mobile cinema.
Yes.
But you were also involved in the production.
Let's now go to the production.
So what was the workflow like? What was the experience?
Now, as I said, I started as a rookie, but I picked things very fast. So my second production, I was in thick of things. There was this crew from the US. They had come in to produce some content for NBC. So that time, we traversed this country. Those guys are highly professional. And I keep on telling my crew, if you work with crews from the US or out there for that matter, you will appreciate the work plan. You look at how they have planned their work from morning to the evening. It's not like a haphazard sort of production. There is a list of things to be done. And everybody participating, you'll see his name appearing against the item. So you'll have your call time. People report exactly on time. If you're told it's 6 in the morning, not 6:01, it's 6. You move to the set. There is a shoot list. What is supposed to be shot in this particular scene? Where is the location? Who is in that scene? What each department is supposed to be doing is listed. So it's something very systematic and you enjoy doing it. And remember those days, now you're shooting is a huge crew. Very big crew. Why? Because of the complexity of the productions was such, you are shooting with film. So there's a guy doing focus pulling. There's a guy doing grips. There's another guy, and this guy has his assistants. There is a guy now with the director. There is a guy on the other side who is doing sound, because those days we used to have Nagras recording sound, not this lapels we have these days. You record sound with a Nagra and sound is crystal clear. There's a guy who is just swinging the boom and the guy recording the sound. Those are two people. Now come to lighting. There is a guy running the cables. They call them what? The cable guys. Yeah. There's a guy doing sparks. There's a guy, the electrician. It was a big crew for a small production. For instance, if today you were doing that on film, today you'd have maybe 10 or so people just for this small video. So that time, production employed so many people. So at this time, I think technology has beaten the workforce and cut it down. So when you get to the set, for instance, if you are doing a documentary, the locations are already set, everything is ready. You cannot waste time. Now the number of takes, if you have a bad actor, he'll get it, because the director will not like someone to waste film. Film is very expensive. So you rehearse properly, you get to the set, and you know what you're supposed to say. You cannot just go there and fumble. These days you cut and delete and shoot again. Those days, no second chance. So the number of takes are minimum, because then again, the cost of production goes too high when you have too many takes.
So Muli is a very technical person, an engineer, a set engineer that is still involved in production, but still very handy with technicalities. But the one I have interacted with, honestly, is a very creative writer. So how did you grow the writer? Was it at that point or was it before?
As I said earlier on, back in high school, I used to write very good plays, which would go to the district level. Remember, we started as zonal, division, then district. And that tells you the quality of writing that I developed. I'm a very, I would say, creative person in my mind. Projecting it out probably was what was not really developed at that time. So as I moved on in the industry, you get opportunities to interact with very good writers. I remember a very good writer from the UK. We worked with him for quite some time. It was called Wayne Holmes. A very good writer. We did some projects for then KPTC. That was Kenya Posts and Telecommunication. I know you only know telecom those days. So interacting with them, I got to understand how to structure a script, how to flow with the script, how to make the script dramatic. So based on that, I also took a few lessons here and there to just get the skills going. And eventually, I started becoming confident. I would write a commercial, I would shoot the commercial eventually, and that's a story of another day. But by and large, this industry can only grow when your hands are on it. It's not like someone will develop a curriculum that we follow. You push the industry by doing things and being more
experimenting
innovative.
Every day. All right, so you worked for a long period in that company, and indeed you gained a wealth of experience there. And you had previously mentioned that you worked in Uganda. So how different was the ball game in Uganda's film industry?
So from filming with 35mm film and the very big crews and all that, now here comes a video. People are now shooting with video cameras. Of course, not your video wedding cameras, no. We're talking professional Betacam cameras. Before that, of course, there was the TV cameras now that were in studios, the Umati cameras. So as we moved on, the crews started getting a bit smaller, because in videos you don't need so many people to take part in the production. So by the time I left Film Corporation, we were now shooting with video cameras. And of course, we're producing documentaries. Of course, movies continue being produced on 35mm, then there was Super 16 sort of productions. But because of the expense in producing a feature film on a 35mm film, the number of productions started going down. And of course, the incentive and things like that are still something that needs to be discussed at the policy level, the government. Because then again, nothing beats film. And I know you guys know that for a fact. The optical movie, nothing can beat it, because the quality never goes down. So we moved now from that very expensive sort of production and big crews and so on, and now go to video. So now video is now where I played much, and I continue playing because we still record on video. From 1997, thereabout, we produced a lot of stuff, documentaries, we produced TV commercials, infomercials. Now on Betacam, then we moved to XD Cam and so on and so forth. Now these days you are doing DSLRs. So from that period, I probably have no count of the number of productions that have been been involved in as a production manager and later as a producer. Probably I've lost count. I've done so many. I've interacted with so many people in the production industry, very many people. And that's maybe I can now qualify to be a guru because I've interacted with so many. I've worked with huge production crews from the US. I've worked with a producer called Lawrence Motov. I've worked with, of course, Raju Patel. May God rest his soul in peace. Stephen Sommers. The list is so much. Those are the few people that I still have a very good memory of. I've also worked with many Indian crews. Rangopal. There are many. Locally, kina Bob Nyanja, Martin Munywa, Drumkacha, kina Atibu Mohammed. There are many. The names are many. Of late, of course, the award-winning directors who coincidentally started here, Likarion Wainaina, great writers, kina Brian Munene, Bruce Macau. There are many. So from classmates, let me take you back to how I worked in Uganda. We moved in and formed a company with some buddies there, and we're doing some stuff for the same way we were doing it here in Kenya. We started a mobile cinema. That mobile cinema would traverse the country and so on, producing content. But then we attracted major clients like Motorola, based in South Africa. So because it was a fairly new thing in Uganda, you know, the history of Uganda, war and so on, and coincidentally I was born there many years ago, before Idi Amin was president. So I had that, feeling of back home. Of course, I'm Kenyan, but I was born in Uganda. So I had that feeling of back home. So I felt nice working there. Traversed that country, produced a lot of content for organizations there. Their TV industry was not as vibrant as ours, for obvious reasons. That war dragged them down a bit, slowed their growth. But then they have a great country, great terrain, beautiful sceneries, and so on. So we also worked with the ruling party. 2006, they had elections, so we'd create content for M7 and NRM and so on, and take the content to the people out there. We worked with Motorola, we worked with the Stanbic Bank. That time they were doing the IPO. So we were charged with the responsibility of disseminating information about the Stanbic Bank. Later on, they had, we call it CHOGM, that was Commonwealth and blah, 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 meeting that was held in Uganda. We did a lot of content for them as well, to just make sure that we communicate. Then I got back here and settled.
Before we come back here and settle, in Uganda, before we went back to the Uganda story, you were talking about technology. So by that time that you were working in Uganda, in terms of technology and workflow, how would you compare it to Kenya, and what was your experience there?
Uganda is a bit behind. By the time we got to Uganda, some of the things that we were doing, which were too obvious in Kenya, were very different down there. What has grown in Uganda majorly is the music industry. Their music industry was much elaborate, it's bigger. And concerts in Uganda will attract a stadium full of people. Now, the production, video production, films, programs, TV shows were still down there. Because at some point I had to get some crew from Kenya for projects, to go and get projects done. Because then again, you know, experience and people don't understand what exactly you want to achieve and so on. But I'm sure they have caught us. They have caught us along the way. That was what, like 13, 14 years ago? Yeah, so I think that time technology was still down there. They had one, I think there had 2 TV stations at that time. Of course, we had already moved and we had about 7 or something. Yeah, so technology was still not as vibrant.
Okay, so you have just left Uganda. Now you want to come back to Kenya, and you know, indeed, you have done some good work in Uganda and you have gathered some precious experiences there. But you come back to Kenya, and that particular moment, it has gone bonkers in Kenya.
You come back to Kenya and you are not too sure whether you want to go back to Uganda or to remain here, because family is here. So I make a decision, okay, I'll not go back to Uganda and leave my family and in a situation which I'm not too sure about. So I relax here. So I walk to a guy and tell him, can you give me some work to do? And he gladly says yes, because my past experience is something that I was proud about. And most of the people who participated and operated mobile cinemas, of course, there are only 2 companies which have a reputation. My name was imprinted in their mind because of the things that I came into the industry and did. That's a history that I'm proud of, because if you ask anybody about mobile cinemas and you dig deep, my name will sort of come up. So this guy says, okay, come, let's work. So I sit with him, I work with him for about 2 years, 3 years, but of course on a contract basis. I'm also out here doing my other stuff. About 4 years, yes. Then I decided, okay, thank you. Let me now sit down and concentrate, do my stuff. So that's how now we started PASUA Show. PASUA, it was PASUA then, of course. Many other people branched out, because a good thing people must copy. PASUA, then we get the other shows branching out of it. We did PASUA we did about 139 episodes, PASUA. Then we did, then now we moved. I think I told you about how we now started Classmates. And it is something that I felt is something that needs to be done. The question was, what happens to these colleges that are not your big college, your middle class college? Who goes to these other colleges? Then we thought creatively, let's get everybody into class. Let's see their mannerism. Let's see how they think. Let's see their mindset. Boom, we have classmates. People from the village coming to the city. Others in the city joining the same college. Of course, in the early 80s, early 90s, many colleges mushroomed. Some of them, of course, closed. Some died on the way. Others were not even accredited. So, based on that, we now embraced what used to happen and put it together. There was a show called Mind Your Language. Incidentally, it was produced at some point by my former boss in the UK. So, with that in mind, and I was a very big fan of that, I said, why not even coin our Kenyan story? Let every tribe coexist in that class. It has become a big show. To date, it's still there because we have shown that we can actually live together with our differences, with our craziness. As Kenyans, we are still in one unit, which is called Kenya. All tribes are coexisting with their differences. And that's where we now bring the comedy out. We did not stop at producing classmates. We produced a show called NGANYA. NGANYA is a big show now. It's about the industry. We would like to be as real as possible, and that's how we produce content that is relatable. So NGANYA is a story about the matatu industry, and more so in Eastlands, and it's grown to be a show that is huge, that everybody is talking about. Right now it's on Maisha Magic. It started on iFlix. iFlix commissioned the show, so we are proud to see our production on Maisha Magic. Of course, besides NGANYA, we produced a lot of infomercials. We have produced documentaries. We have produced TV commercials. We have won Best TV Commercial on Riverwood Awards. And that tells you the level of creativity and the level of production we are in. Social media. Why? Because that's where we are going. That's where the future is, and that's where the ball is being played now going forward. We are, I would say, one of the companies that produce content on a regular basis for social media. I'm sure many of you might not even know that is Assignment Studios because we don't give credit at the end. But it is us who produce most of the content you see on TV, on social media.
Yeah. There's like a Kenyash TV.
Yes.
So
we also produce social media content for corporates, for FMCGs. We have so many videos out there that you might not know, but it's us who produce it.
I was about to ask this question, and my question is reinforced by my experience working with you as crew in Classmates. I observed that everyone around you is young. Actually, everyone around you is young, and stemming from your experience, one would expect that you'd frown at the amateurish at times demeanor. So what I'm wondering is, Muli, what inspires you as a producer in that regard to work with inexperienced crew and cast while you have your peers out there that you've worked there with for many years?
You see, as a father, I'm proud to grow amateurs. Many a times people take it the wrong way, but I feel fulfilled when I see an amateur actor grow and become somebody. Most of the crews that I've worked with are young people. They have learned the job. Most of them have learned on the job. Very few have gone to college to get degrees and things. But most of them have learned things on the jobs. If I will tell you one of the big guys out there, the Carry On, started here. So I feel proud when I see them branch out and become people in the industry that are well sought and people of serious stature. Of course, you were there doing my sound for Classmates. That's where we started. Look where you are today. You are teaching those who teach. So you are no longer that amateur guy, but the history is still there. You cannot change it, and that's something that I'm proud of. It is a bad mindset to go looking for the experienced. Where do you think they get the experience from? They must pass somewhere. They must start with somebody to sort of grow them. Then you place them out there, people look for them. Of course, I work with every other person, the big names in this city. It's not just the amateurs that I work with every big name you know. But majorly, I purposed to look for people who are green, get them to a point where they feel comfortable. If they want to stick around, they stick. If they want to go, I bless them, let them go. I'm happy when they're out there. Today, if I want 20 crews, I can easily assemble. Why? Because all these people, at some point, we have interacted. So that's my reason.
Let's now talk serious business. As a producer, and you know you've produced for many years, how is the film business in Kenya, and does it actually make sense to be in film business?
A very good question. It depends on many things. One of the things, first of all, is passion. I can become a bus driver. I can become a makanga. I can become a teacher. I can open a supermarket. But do I have passion? So this is that industry that you don't walk in because you have nothing else to do and decide you want to settle here. First of all, you must have passion, whether you are making money or not. Secondly, we are not in here just for the money. We are doing what we do to create entertainment. Remember, we compare ourselves to doctors, especially as in the comedy industry. I make you laugh, I prolong your life. I've given you dawa. So those are the major things that keep us around. Of course, money will follow you if you do things right. If you produce content and people like it, they are bound to say, can you do this for us? And that's why I said I've produced so many TV series and infomercials that I cannot even remember the number. And we keep producing. Because again, you start by doing it right and money follows you. Of course, for the young people starting, if you're looking for something to do and you think you can do film and you have no passion, forget it. This is a job that has a lot of challenges. Time must be kept. Discipline must be kept. More important, faith in God. Because the things we do sometimes are not possible without the God's intervention.
So let us go back to the money. As a producer, you know, there are many stories out there of producers driving big cars, living the life, you know, big houses, but you know, their crews and cast not doing very well. You ask many people and they will tell you about passion, you know, passion without the money. But at the end of the day, Muli, is there money in the industry?
As I said, how you position yourself is what matters. There is money in the industry if you know what you are doing. If you position yourself in a way that you are attractive, and I know many people understand what I'm saying. This thing people calling trending is not positioning yourself. You trend for a season. You stop trending, you're done. But if you position yourself and have a business mind, you move and you create wealth. It is not just money, you have to create something we call wealth. Now, of course, there are producers whose crews are not doing well. Of course, it zeroes around discipline and things like how you discuss, how you position yourself, again, and most important, discipline. This industry, many people think is a place to live a lavish life, you know. You are there to just blow today and tomorrow you get more. This is like any other profession. You must have a culture of saving. You must find money to invest. For instance, now we are shooting classmates. There is a cost. You must find money to invest and wait for the return. You cannot get a product out there without investing money and investing and pushing to get benefit out of your investment. So yes, there are those who will prey on actors and never pay them. They're paid by people, but you don't go far. This industry is very small, and if you prey on, you know, actors and crew, you won't go far. It is going to backfire on you one day. Now, to take you out there, if you go to Hollywood, you will find some of the richest people there. They are actors, they are crews, the producers. They live there. You go to India, they are idols. People look at them and say, I want to be like that guy. And yes, there's money. We can make it in Kenya, especially if the Kenyans embrace what we produce. And of course, they cannot embrace something that is mediocre. We have to produce content that they can consume. Content is key. TV stations in Kenya, if they embrace what we are doing, of course, we must, of course, give them a reason to embrace what we are producing by matching the international standards and getting our stories told by ourselves. Then money will follow. Meanwhile, I think where we are stuck is people doing this for money and forgetting that, of course, you have to match what you are saying with the productions.
What I'm wondering about, do we have a conducive environment, regardless of how passionate we are and how business savvy we can be, you know, in terms of positioning our brands? Are we at the right place in terms of policy and in terms of business environment? Does it allow content producers to grow?
The environment is something that can be fixed. It starts with, of course, us in the industry to lobby and get the right environment. But as many of you know, it is very expensive to produce content in Kenya. Because then you don't get concessions, you don't get people supporting the industry. Today, Nigeria has grown the industry because the government realized that we can actually get a lot of our youth busy. Today, if we looked at the industry in such a way that this is a job creation, let us consume our content, then there is going to be, you know, the demand. But if today a TV station will spend 18 hours showing you content which is not even related to our country and forcing you to watch that because you have no alternative, then you end up getting a pirated DVD to watch, download it on social media, because then again, you do not have that. So it boils down on policy and people moving towards the same direction, making sure that we push the industry to produce quality content, which is well thought. Then push the consumer to watch this content. This environment can get better. What we need is just some sort of certification, of course, to pull out quacks. Let me call them quacks, because there are many people out there destroying the industry as well, producing content which is not palatable, content which is not telling our story. We must also protect our culture. We must also find a way of telling our story in a right way that you and I can sit and watch without feeling, embarrassed. Yeah.
Okay, so where are we going as an industry? What is there for us in the future, and what is Muli planning for the coming days?
The future of the film industry is still bright. What we need to do is to make sure that we own that future. We create the future today by making sure that we stick to the principles of production and we consider ourselves as professionals, not as the alternative work that people want to do. I know people are seeing this industry as the quick getaway, and it is wrong. This is a profession like any other. For me as a producer, I'm moving with times. I like to have a lot of presence on the social media. I would like to have, of course, there are many productions that we have planned. They're in the pipeline, and we are looking forward to continuing to produce content which is as serious as the other. We are looking forward to collaborations, joint ventures, partnerships with other production crews to, at the end of it, deliver something which people will say, wow. So I think that's where we are.
Okay. Parting shots?
What do you want me to say? Parting shot. My goodness. Mine is just to thank you guys for looking at us and saying, let's talk to these guys. I think there's something you have seen in us, and we thank you so much. We wish you all the best as you continue producing your content. I think this is where we are supposed to be going, all of us. Producing content and talking about ourselves, not producing content and talking about other people. This is where we need to go. Thank you.